Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Welcome to Epic Universe Reviews, a series of videos reviewing each of the 11 rides at the all-new Universal's Epic Universe theme park at Universal Orlando Resort. In each video, I will talk through my experience on one of the rides, provide useful information about it, and give some final thoughts on how good the ride is. For the fourth video of this series, I am reviewing Stardust Racers, the MACK Rides dueling launch coaster that headlines Celestial Park. Spoilers for the ride incoming. Let's get one thing out of the way from the get-go. This is quite easily the best ride at Epic Universe from my perspective. For those who are unaware of who I am and clicked on a video by Theme Park Avenue thinking I'd be a big theming guy, the truth is that I am a roller coaster enthusiast first and foremost. I love roller coasters. They are my favorite type of theme park ride by a mile, and I went to Epic Universe already sorta knowing Stardust Racers would be the winner. However, the ride pulls off an impressive feat, being enjoyable for those who are less accustomed to roller coasters, even with a general lack of theming. Let's talk about what makes Stardust Racers so great for everyone. First off, the entrance experience. Stardust Racers is beautiful as you walk up to it. When the trains leave the station, they go toward the main path before turning around and then entering a tunnel. Later on, the trains return to this main area before entering the second launch and moving away once again. Couple the view of the intertwining coasters with the comet statue, fog effects, and rockwork, and you have one heck of a first impression. Additionally, the ride's entrance sign is very nice. It looks old-fashioned, and the spinning elements make the comets more dynamic a lot of fun. Hands down, my favorite entrance sign of the park, due to that sense of style. As for the queue, it's designed to look like a train station, and it certainly does. The theme of the ride is that the Celestians, the people of Celestial Park, used to ride comets as a standard set of transport, and now you can do the same. By being in the queue, you understand the idea that it's not a race to see who wins, but rather the trains departing at the same time and racing through the cosmos. However, the idea that you're riding a comet, or any sort of transportation system really, is sort of lost save for the general design of the queue. I didn't know that you were supposed to be riding on a comet until after I went to the park. I wish there were some small theming elements in the queue that explain this sort of old transportation system theme. For example, when the two trains leave the station, they could have an announcement in the same vein as a train station one, declaring that the comets are now departing. This would be so simple, but add a lot not only to the aesthetic, but also understanding the ride's story. I realize it's a very minor issue, the theme is not a super important part of the ride after all, and I can still piece together most of it. But since the ride does have an interesting story, I kind of wish it was further explored in the queue. But hey, that's not the main focus of the ride, so let's talk about the ride itself. This ride provides an experience that greatly appeals to the thrill seeker in me, but also has unique strengths that practically no other roller coaster can match. The experience begins as well as any other roller coaster, with the tracks both leaving the station and heading towards Celestial Park. Soon after, the trains turn around into the tunnel directly underneath the loading platform. This is where the fun begins. Within the tunnel, the ride's first launch appears, and it packs a punch. Certain launches from the manufacturer MACK Rides like Copperhead Strike and Carowinds have been criticized, but this launch is very powerful. On my first ride, it felt like it had two phases, the launch starting out gentle, and then halfway through pushing me right back into my seat with startling force. The second ride I got felt like it had three phases, but I'm not really sure why. Either way, this is a thrilling start that leads into a very wild first half. The highlight of the first half for me is the airtime. There are great moments of the trains passing over each other, but getting thrown out of your seat on this one is the pinnacle. It happens in such a violent manner in the first two hills, and I never would have expected that. Other great MACK Rides roller coasters I've done like Hyperia at Thor Park don't have ejector airtime like that. I love being launched out of my seat and into the restraint, and this was a great start. Others will probably prefer the parts where the trains are passing over each other and vice versa, but for me, it's the airtime that wowed me the most in the first half. And to end that first half, the train flies around the queue area again and enters a second launch. This launch builds up more speed and sends you into the best moment not only at Stardust Racers, but in all of Epic Universe. This moment is the Celestial Spin. As you scale the highest point of the ride, the green track enters a zero-G roll that wraps around the yellow one just as that one enters a barrel roll drop and wraps around the green. These inversions are not super fast, but this moment is a spectacle as the two trains beautifully pass over each other. You feel so close to the other train as you go through the inversions, it's a magical moment. But it's not the end. I do find the remainder of the ride to be less thrilling than the first half, but it's just as enjoyable because the track passes over each other even more. The overbank turn is a super fun moment, and yet another with that crossing over. Throughout the rest of the ride, you dash toward the end and cross over the other track plenty more times. The ride's pacing definitely feels slower than Velocicoaster, the ride is a bit slower after all, but the dueling makes the ride just as much fun as you head into the final brake run. This layout and experience is exactly what it should have been. A graceful yet thrilling adventure with two tracks interacting with each other. The layout is packed with airtime, but it works in tandem with the racing element to be even more memorable than it would otherwise. The other key element that makes it memorable is the music. This ride is a beautiful soundtrack that plays through onboard audio, which is not new for Universal. Coasters like Hulk have great onboard soundtracks too, but this one captures a more unique ambiance with an ethereal sound that still feels thrilling and grand, but it's just so beautiful. If you're new to roller coasters and you ride this, you'll likely be blown away by the experience of racing alongside another train. The gorgeous song really ties that all together. This ride is intense as a whole, but it's also quite accessible. Some of those strongest elements contribute to a sense of transporting you to a new world, as opposed to being big adrenaline rushes. Additionally, the experience further improves at night. Not only does nighttime fit that space theme more, but the light package on the trains is gorgeous, and the music is different. I did not get on the ride at night, but I have friends who prefer the nighttime music, so it's definitely worth doing if you can. This review has been immensely positive so far, but there are 3 criticisms I must address. First, the racing is not guaranteed to work out. When I went to the park, I rode the yellow track in the morning and went out in the evening to ride the other track. On this second ride, the coaster had just reopened from a weather delay, and it was running like normal with the racing. That said, the green train stopped at the exit area for an extended period soon after that, not rolling up to the loading area until the yellow train had cycled through 4 times. This meant close to 96 people on the yellow track had got no racing because the green trains are stuck. I'm not sure what happened, but it's important to know that the 2 tracks are different and therefore don't run together perfectly every time. Speaking of those tracks, my second criticism is very unnecessary, but still something that baffles me. The tracks are called yellow and green, but there is absolutely no universe in which the green track could be called that color. Those are both yellow. The green one is closer to a gold, maybe it's a yellow-green mix, but I truly don't think the green track lives up to its name. Quick side note before my third and more important criticism, I slightly prefer the green track overall, because I think being the first to go upside down is more fun. Mind you, this ride is so good that I recommend doing both tracks, and if you can only do one ride multiple times at this park, I think this should be the pick. The third criticism is the one thing that will only matter to roller coaster enthusiasts. As much as I love Stardust Racers, it's not quite among my absolute favorite roller coasters. It's probably top 25 out of around 375, but it wouldn't be high up in that top 25, falling below launch coasters from manufacturer Intamin, including Velocicoaster, as well as Maverick at Cedar Point and Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. The main thing Intamin coasters do differently from this ride is their pacing. Intamin launch coasters often have very tight turns and intense maneuvers that make the rides feel way faster than they actually are. The best moments on Velocicoaster and Maverick are those where you fly through the elements, most notably Velocicoaster's Mosasaurus roll that you rip through. Stardust Racers has great inversions too, but the faster Velocicoaster one is just more my speed. As a result, I generally prefer Intamin launch coasters and more intense roller coasters in general. However, there's not a single roller coaster Intamin has ever built that captures the magic that Stardust Racers does with that atmosphere and racing. Honestly, if you have 10 park goers ride Stardust Racers and Velocicoaster, I would bet that 8 or 9 of them would prefer Stardust Racers. It's something special that the general audience is bound to love, and I love it too. To end this review, I will be giving the ride a number score out of 10. A 1 means it is among the absolute worst of Universal attractions, like Fast and Furious Supercharged. A 10 means it is among the absolute best of Universal attractions, such as Velocicoaster or Spider-Man. Those scores are just my opinion, as is the score for Stardust Racers. I do prefer Velocicoaster as a whole, but that is my favorite ride in the entire resort. Stardust Racers is now my second favorite, and it is perfect at what it sets out to do. While it doesn't fully appeal to my personal taste, I can't even begin to consider giving it anything less than a 10 out of 10. It is without a doubt the best ride at Epic Universe in my opinion, and it might be a game changer for this kind of experience in the future. We'll just have to see. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please comment down below your thoughts and any questions you have. Subscribe so you know when the next Epic Universe review comes out, and stay tuned for the rest of those. I'll see you next time.